10 devastatingly hot kissers of old Hollywood. What if I told you that one leading lady confessed, decades later, that among all her famous co-stars, there was one man whose on-screen kisses made her forget the cameras were rolling? Tonight, we're counting down the men who didn't just act romance. They lived it in front of millions. The gentleman whose soft lips and cologne warmth had co-stars confessing secrets for decades. The silent era legend whose close-ups caused actual fainting in theaters. The spy who made danger feel like a caress. And yes, that beach scene that was so steamy, censors nearly pulled it from theaters. Before we start, drop 3 names you're absolutely certain will make this list in the comments. Let's see how many you get right. And if one of these kisses takes you straight back to a lobby card or a drive-in memory, tell us where you were the first time you saw it. Those stories are half the magic. All right, let's begin at 10 and work our way to the kiss that changed movies forever. Number 10, Elvis Presley. Before a single note, he had that half smile that said the scene would end with a kiss, and you believed him. In the 60s, Elvis wasn't just the king of records. On screen, he was the easy, playful charmer who made romance look like rhythm. Watch Viva Las Vegas, and you can feel it. The glance, the grin, the gentle pull-in that says, "Don't rush it." He didn't mash, he paced. A little tease, a breath, then a soft landing that felt natural instead of staged. Co-stars later joked that fans asked them the same question for decades. Was he actually that good? And the answer kept coming back the same: yes. One leading lady even remembered the small details you and I always notice. Soft lips, a clean cologne warmth, because movie magic is built on those little truths. For those of us who first saw him on a living room TV or at a drive-in, the memory is tactile. The collar open, the hair just so, the way he let the camera arrive before he did. Elvis treated the close-up like a beat in a song. Count it, feel it, then slide in on time. That's why his kisses read as sincere instead of flashy. They were friendly, almost conspiratorial, like he was letting you in on the moment rather than conquering the scene. And his partners relaxed into it. When the other person's shoulders soften, you know the chemistry is doing the heavy lifting. Now picture this: no swagger, no show. Just a man who made safety feel like the most romantic thing in the world. Number 9, James Garner. Some men act a kiss. He didn't. Garner made it look like something people do when the porch light is still on, and the neighbors can see. Steady, considerate, and completely believable. If you grew up with Maverick on a black and white set, or wound down your week with the Rockford Files, you remember that easy half smile. It said, "You're safe here." Then he'd prove it. What set him apart wasn't flash, it was manners. He gave his partner space, read her breath, and closed the distance in 2 calm beats. Eyes first, touch second. The camera loved the patience. Co-stars noticed too. More than one leading lady, asked years later, quietly named him their best on-screen kisser. No fuss, no grandstanding, just warmth that reaches through the lens. Look at him opposite Doris Day, in The Thrill of It All, or Move Over, Darling. Those front door goodnights feel lived in, like a couple that actually knows each other. With Julie Andrews in The Americanization of Emily, he lets humor soften into tenderness before he leans in. Timing like that doesn't shout, it reassures. And when a scene calls for more heat, he turns the dial slowly, so the moment never breaks. For many of us, that was the secret. He treated romance as conversation, not conquest. The hand placement was gentle, the pull-in measured, the part-in beat unhurried. So the kiss lands, and then settles. You can almost feel the quiet afterward, the little afterglow that romances used to trust the audience to understand without a music swell. He also knew the power of a small smile right before contact. It's disarming. It tells you there's affection underneath the spark. That's why his partners relaxed. Their shoulders really did drop. Chemistry isn't a trick. It's 2 people meeting in the same moment. And Garner was the one who kept that door open long enough for both to arrive. But what happens when danger wears a dinner jacket? Number 8. Sha Connory. He didn't rush. He occupied the moment and let you come to him. In the Bond years, Connery turned the kiss into part of the operation. Approach, assess, commit. Watch from Russia with love, and you see it. The eye contact holds, the voice drops, the distance closes by inches, not feet. He used stillness, the way other men used speeches. When the head finally tilted, it felt inevitable. What made it work wasn't brute force. It was control without strain. He'd place a hand lightly, temple, jaw, the briefest touch at the nape, and the camera did the rest. With Ursula Andress, at the end of Dr. No, the surf's still in your ears when he leans in and everything quiets. With Claudine Auger in Thunderball, the teasing stops on a dime, and the kiss lands like a decision. With Daniela Bianchi in From Russia with Love, the choreography looks simple until you notice the timing. Breath, then contact, then a small pause that reads as certainty. If you caught those double features back in the day, you remember the audience reaction. A Connery close-up didn't need a swell of strings or a speech. The confidence was the music. Co-stars have said it felt that way on set too. Measured, respectful, present. The trick was how he made an intense moment seem private in a crowded theater. He protected the bubble. You could feel partners relax into it because the rhythm was dependable. No lunge, no fumble, just a clean line from banter to warmth. He also understood contrast. Bond could trade quips in one breath and drop the temperature in the next. That turn, spark to heat without losing elegance, is hard. Connery hit it by keeping his face calm. The kiss didn't read as conquest, it read as choice. That's why it played across decades, and why people who don't even favor spy pictures still remember the embrace in the barn with the world temporarily on mute. Before talkies, before sound, there was only a face in the darkness, and that face could stop time. Number 7. Rudolph Valentino. Before a word, he had you. In the silent era, when a face had to do the talking, Valentino let the camera come so close it felt like a secret. The eyelids lowered, the chin angled, and the whole theater leaned in together. If you caught the Sheik in a neighborhood palace, or later on late-night TV, you remember the feeling. The room went still, then warm, then breathless. He didn't chase the kiss, he drew it to him. What made it work was patience and shape. He used stillness like a frame, then added one precise gesture. A thumb at the jaw, a palm at the nape, a small tilt that said, "This is happening," without force. In The Sheikh, with Agnes Ayres, and again in The Son of the Sheik, with Vilma Benke, he lets the gaze do the heavy lifting. Contact isn't sudden, it's earned across a few heartbeats. Silent films had no whispered lines to help, so he built music out of timing. Look, breath, closeness, then a soft ceiling press. Audiences felt claimed in the best way. Reports from the time talked about women swooning, lobby cards vanishing into handbags, and lines around the block. You and I remember something simpler. He made romance look inevitable, not aggressive. Even when critics took swings at his image, he answered with composure on screen. Confident posture, calm hands, and a kiss that read as certainty rather than display. That became the template others copied for decades. Valentino was all hush and mystery. Our next man, pure mischief, with a sword at his side. Number 6. Errol Flynn. Danger looked good on him. With Flynn, romance arrived with a grin, a blade just out of frame, and a dare in the eyes. He treated the kiss like the last flourish of a stunt, set it up with banter, let the heartbeat climb, then finish in one smooth, confident sweep. In the adventures of Robin Hood and the sea epics, you can see the pattern. Laughter, a sudden quiet, then that agile lean-in that feels like jumping from a balcony and sticking the landing. He didn't push, he played, and partners met him there. What made it memorable was how fun it felt. He'd hold the gaze half a second longer than polite, cock the head just enough, and place a hand where the camera could read tenderness under the swagger, temple, cheekbone, the lightest touch at the nape. That little combination, spark plus care, turned a swashbuckler into a believable lover. Co-stars relaxed because the rhythm was exact. Tease, hush, contact. The audience relaxed because the tone promised delight, not dominance. For many of us who first saw him on Saturday matinees, that energy was catnip. You bought a ticket for the swordplay and left remembering the smile right before the kiss. He made romance feel like a prize at the end of a chase, but never a conquest. More a shared joke that ends with warmth. When the camera closed in, the bravado melted into charm, and the kiss said, "We both wanted this," without a single wasted move. You knew him the moment his smile filled the frame. The king of Hollywood had arrived. Number 5. Clark Gable. He didn't ask permission from the camera. He took it and made the room lean his way. With Gable, the kiss arrived like a promise kept, sure-handed, centered, and warm enough to fog the frame. Think of the porch shadows in Gone with the Wind, or the quiet after-joke moments in It Happened One Night. He would steady the scene with eye contact, set the shoulders, then close the distance in a clean line. No flurry, no fuss, just certainty. What set him apart was calibration. He played force as focus, not pressure. One palm settles at the small of the back, the tilt is measured, and the contact lands firm without crowding. In Red Dust and San Francisco, he lets the banter fall away a heartbeat before the embrace, so the heat has room to register. Partners read that cue and softened into it. That's why audiences believed the romance, even in stories built on sparks and spats. The kiss felt like the moment when the noise finally stopped. You and I remember how those scenes lived in living rooms for decades. Sunday afternoon reruns, a late movie with the sound low. Gable's face carried the temperature change. The famous half-grin fades. The eyes settle, and the whole theater seems to exhale. Even when a co-star might have teased him about an off-screen quirk, the lens didn't care. On film, the geometry was flawless. He knew where to place a hand, so the frame read tenderness, not control. And he left a beat on the end. The small breath that tells you it meant something. Sunlight streaming through lace curtains. A laugh that turns into a sigh. Sunday afternoon. Comfort in Technicolor. Number 4. Rock Hudson. The frame relaxed around him. Before the kiss, he'd let a scene breathe. One small laugh, a softened glance, and suddenly the living room felt warmer. In the glossy romances with Doris Day, you can see the trick. He eases the moment into place, so nobody feels pushed. The pull is gentle, the tilt is considerate. And when contact comes, it feels natural, like a conversation reaching its best sentence. That's why those films still play on a quiet evening. You believe two people chose each other, not just a script choosing them. He led with kindness. Partners trusted him because he never crowded the close-up. In all that heaven allows, he holds still long enough for you to read the care in his face. In Giant, you catch the steadiness under all the Texas noise. With Doris Day, the rhythm is almost musical. Banter, a hush, then a kiss that lands soft but certain. Viewers of our generation remember watching those Sunday night broadcasts and thinking, that looks like real affection. It was his body language, a hand placed where tenderness reads clearly, a breath left at the end so the feeling lingers. What separates him is how he turned size into safety. A tall, broad-shouldered man can overpower the frame. Hudson used that presence to shelter the moment. The camera leaned in because the embrace made space for it. Co-stars relaxed, shoulders dropping, eyes closing without hesitation, because his timing told them exactly where the scene was going. You didn't get fireworks first, and meaning later, you got warmth that brightened into heat, and a finish that let both faces be seen. Those blue eyes could melt steel. They could also break your heart with tenderness. Number 3, Paul Newman. Those eyes did half the work, but the rest was craft. Newman let quiet do the heavy lifting. One level look, a breath you could almost hear, then a kiss that landed soft and sure. Opposite Joanne Woodward, the warmth felt like a secret the camera was lucky to catch. In the long, hot summer and from the terrace, he doesn't pounce. He arrives. The touch is careful, the angle unhurried, and the finish leaves a beat of afterglow you can feel from your couch. What set him apart was tenderness with voltage. With Elizabeth Taylor in Cat on a hot tin roof, he plays a proud man fighting himself. When the wall finally cracks, the closeness has meaning. With Eva Marie Saint in Exodus, he lets the cause fall away for a heartbeat so the human moment can breathe. And when a co-star was asked years later to name her best on-screen kisser, she didn't hedge. She said, "Paul, that tracks with what we all saw. He kissed like someone who listened first." For many of us who met him on network movie nights, the memory is color and calm, light on his cheekbone, a hand that frames the other face without stealing it. He knew where to put his fingers so the camera could read affection, not display. He also knew when to hold. That tiny pause before contact tells the audience the feeling is mutual. It's not a trick, it's respect, and it plays across decades. He carried domestic warmth into the frame. Maybe that's why couples watching together nodded instead of nudged. His kisses never felt like a stunt or a trophy. They felt like a promise kept. The gentleness never dulled the spark. It focused it. You remember the softness, and you remember the certainty. Some men kiss, others conduct symphonies with their lips. Carrie Grant wrote poetry. Number 2, Carrie Grant. He could make a kiss feel like etiquette and electricity at the same time. Grant didn't chase the camera. He invited it. Shoulders relaxed, chin easy, the smallest smile that said the moment would arrive when both people wanted it. In Notorious, he and Ingrid Bergman turned the Hays Code into a love language. Brief kisses and murmurs woven together so the scene never broke, just breathed. It looked effortless because he understood rhythm, approach, whisper, touch, retreat, repeat. The spell was in the pacing. What made him singular was elegance that never went cold. In To Catch a Thief, he lets wit soften into warmth with Grace Kelly. You can feel the temperature change the instant the banter stops. In An Affair to Remember, he treats closeness as a promise, not a stunt. Hand placement careful, angle considerate, ending beat held just long enough for meaning to register in the eyes. He knew the frame and trusted it. No grab, no mash, just a kiss that read as mutual decision, carried by posture and breath. For those of us who watched him on Sunday night movies, the memory is precise. The way he tilted just enough to share the light, the way his fingers anchored without claiming, the way the final half-second let tenderness land. Co-stars met him there because he left space for them to be seen. That's the secret. He wasn't proving anything, he was sharing it. And then there was the beach, the waves, 2 bodies in the sand, one kiss that changed movies forever. Number 1, Bert Lancaster. Power and tenderness in the same breath. That was his signature. In From Here to Eternity, the surf rolls in, the world narrows to 2 faces, and Lancaster meets Deborah Kerr with a steadiness that still hushes a room. He doesn't rush it. He sets his footing, lowers his shoulders, and lets the moment come to him. One hand anchors, the other guides, and the kiss lands firm without crowding. It feels inevitable, not staged, like a promise kept in salt air. He was a physical actor who understood control. The acrobat's balance never left him. You can see it in how he holds space, so his partner is fully seen. That's why the camera loves the embrace. It reads as shared, not taken. Watch the ballroom intimacy in The Leopard and the charged quiet in Elmer Gantry. He modulates heat with a glance, then seals it with contact that says feeling, not display. Years later, a leading lady wrote that among all her famous co-stars, Lancaster was the best kisser she ever had on screen. You can believe it the moment the frame tightens and his face softens. For those of us who caught that beach scene on a big screen or on a late movie with the volume low, the memory is tactile, wet sand, dark hair slicked back, a pause that feels like the tide holding its breath. He treats the close-up like a partnership. No lunge, no showy dip, just calibration. Eyes, breath, angle, then warmth that lingers a half second after the lips part. That last beat matters. It tells the audience something real just passed between them. So what truly makes a screen kiss last? Not just lips. It's timing, breath, respect, and the quiet promise that two people met in the same second. That's why these moments still glow when the rest of the reel has faded. We moved from Elvis's playful ease to Garner's good manners, from Connory's precision to Valentino's silence made electric, Flynn's mischief, Gable's command, Hudson's sheltering warmth, Newman's tender voltage, Grant's elegance, and Lancaster's strength with care. Different paths, same destination, a kiss that feels chosen, not performed. Now, your turn. If this brought back memories of balcony seats, late-night movies, or that first time you caught your breath watching two people fall in love on screen, hit that like button and help others discover these golden moments. Subscribe for next week's deep dive into the leading ladies who could stop a man's heart with just a glance. Same era, same magic. But this time, we're talking about the women who made these men weak in the knees. And drop a comment. Who was your greatest screen kisser? Share the actor, the movie, and if you're feeling brave, where you were when you first saw that kiss. Theater? Living room? Drive-in under the stars? Those stories keep Hollywood's golden age alive. If you're watching this with someone special, maybe it's time to recreate a little of that old movie. Magic yourselves. Some things never go out of style. Until next time, keep leaning into those close-ups.